Hello. How's it going, everyone? Decided to come back today and do a little bit more shiny hunting. Well, not a little more, a lot more. Since the last time I played this file, I have added 10 plus probably another 2 hours to my playtime here on this file. And I also went and got a white flute and kind of set up a little bit better for that Smeargle hunt I was talking about in Emerald. A Pokemon with a high PP move, so Smeargle can sketch that, and then I get 30 chances instead of 5 before it dies. I do have a Master Ball in that Emerald, but I would prefer to use that for... I may actually just trade that over for Roamer. Because you really do need to Master Ball the 2 Roamers with Roar and Fire Red Leaf Green. And also Master Balling a Smeargle's kinda sus. I don't know. Seems overkill. Like, I Master Balled that Jigglypuff, but that was a Pokemon that I literally spent, like, 7 years trying to get. It's like 300,000 encounters or something. Really, really, really just wanted that to be over. Just wanted that to be done. I was going through my Steam library last night too, to look for some games. See what maybe would be a next good, relatively short game to play. Looking for probably between 10 and 20 hours. Maybe a little shorter, depending on how much I feel like playing it. I found a couple. Found a couple good, promising games that I've either played the beginnings of, or I've played like a million hours of. Have The Witness, which I played parts of as a group with friends like 10 years ago. So I have vague memories of the I have vague memories of the kinds of puzzles that are in The Witness, but I don't remember any of them. Spiritfarer, that also is kind of up my alley. I played 5 or 6 hours, and then I just got distracted. And then there's a couple visual novel type games. I Just Want to Be Single, which is kind of in development still. So not sure if I want to play through that yet. But 7 Days to End With You is the language puzzle game that I was talking about before. That's supposed to be pretty short. Like 5 or 6 hours, counting multiple playthroughs to get more information. And we got Roller Coaster Tycoon, a game that I have been playing for 25 years. Oh my god, that sounds crazy. But I have, I think. I'm trying to remember what computer we first played Roller Coaster Tycoon on. Because 1 came out in like the 90s. It's old. It's an old game. Tycoon 2. Yeah, 1 was 99, 2 is 2002, and we got 3 when it came out, and we were already obsessed with Roller Coaster Tycoon in 2004. So yeah, it's probably been about 25 years since we first played Roller Coaster Tycoon. have a lot of weird early gaming memories. Because, like, a lot of people, you know, your first gaming memories are like, you know, a handheld console that you got, or something like that. You know, you've got your GameCube, you got your N64. All of my first gaming experiences were like my dad at work would like drop me in front of a DOS machine and then be like, okay, I'm gonna be back in 30 minutes. I gotta go to a meeting. Here, you can play Cosmos Cosmic Adventure. Or just like, you know, type random stuff into DOS because there's literally no way you're gonna figure out how to break anything. So here you go. Look, if you hit this key, the letter shows up on the screen. Isn't that cool? I think we got a console. I think our first console was the Game Boy Advance. And I remember our first game. It was Battleship. It was the first Game Boy game we ever had. And that game cheats. The Game Boy Color Battleship is like... You cannot win that game. It genuinely cheats. It's crazy. It's one of those, like... Okay, I don't know if it actually cheats or if it's one of those engine problems where it's like, oh, you know, we're gonna design a low memory chess algorithm, right? And we're gonna like restrict how far it can look ahead to, and just use how far it looks ahead as our like difficulty setting. So like, oh, you know, easy can be like looks ahead 3 or 4 moves, right? That's fine. That's super. Like, you can look ahead 3 or 4. No, you can't. Casual players cannot look ahead 3 or 4 moves. An easy chess engine that looks ahead 3 or 4 moves will destroy anyone who is playing the game. There was a web chess thing a couple years ago that was going around that was like, oh yeah, we can beat most players with a chess engine that fits in like a 4 megabyte embed, counting the actual chess program itself. And I remember it played really weird moves because of how it like was truncating things. So it really liked playing like pushing rook pawns and getting the rooks out really early because it calculated those at an advantage. And then also because that's a move that like literally no one would ever play in real chess, you're like, what is this board state? I don't know what's happening. I lost to it a few times, and then I learned, and then I beat it. So I don't know if the Battleship game was like that, or if it was like a real cheating thing, because a lot of those games do like literally cheat. They have information that you don't have to make it harder. Just fine, I guess. Like Pokemon cheats. Once you get into the battle tower stuff. It's just one of the ways that they make the game harder. But in that vein, I do actually have the Steam release for Cosmos Cosmic Adventure. And I kind of want to play it. I think that would be an insane game to play on stream. It's like entirely possible there has never been a VTuber who has played Cosmos Cosmic Adventure. I have not looked to see this, but it is like demographic of people who are interested in VTubers and a demographic of people who would have played Cosmos Cosmic Adventure are like 2 entirely separate circles. Let's see. Okay, there's a cat VTuber. Like a literal cat who has played it, and then there's some speedrunners. So not literally the first, but it's pretty far out there. Then there's also Chips Challenge, which is a puzzle game that is just like brutally unfair. That also has a Steam release. But I don't know. I have options. I thought about starting something today. That's why I was going through last night, and then I woke up and I went to the store, and it was very rainy, and there were a lot of people outside. And when you are around 5 o'clock, all of the drivers on the road get worse. So, kind of just wanted to relax a little bit. But I got stuff to make pizza. Pretty excited for it. Haven't done that since last year. Got some yeast. And I should already have flour. I have a little 12-inch cast iron skillet that I'll make pan pizzas in sometimes. They're pretty good. And actually not that expensive. If you like average out the cost of all the ingredients over time. And buy things in relative bulk. Because dude, those single package servings of yeast, those are such a scam. It's like $2 for one of those versus $4 for the equivalent of like 10 if you just buy one of the little glass jars of yeast. It's crazy. But I did some stream layout work last night. I was kind of messing around. I didn't actually realize, like I knew OBS could do web page embedding, because that's how like stream alerts and stuff work. But I didn't know you could actually do local pages. So you can just like make an HTML file with CSS and embed it in your stream. And you have a like little fake web page visual element that's run locally, which is kind of cool. So I was messing around with that, added a clock, so I do talk about time. And then messed around with some more visual elements. I'm still trying to find a good way to get chat to display on screen, but I also don't have a great spot for it. If I'm going to use the top right for Runelight, or if I like want to minimize a second Pokemon screen or something, because that will be here eventually. I did end up beating that puzzle game that I was talking about last time, though. I was kind of starting to get a little mad at it. Because the pieces, like you pick up a piece and it just picks up a random piece in the vicinity. And I learned that's actually not random. It, for some reason, the game stacks all of the pieces vertically. If there's two overlapping pieces, or so like, how do I explain this? If you take two pieces and you stack them on top of each other even a little bit, the piece that is displayed on top is not always the actual piece that's on the top of the pile, because the actual ordering of the pieces in the pile is based on their, like, array index for their actual position on the board, and not their visual appearance. So if you click on a stack of pieces, it'll pick up the one that is ordered based on where it should go on the puzzle. And so I solved the last two puzzles by literally stacking all of the pieces on top of each other and then just clicking the pile one at a time. Which I don't think... It's a little scummy to do a puzzle game like that, but also the last the last puzzle was 350 pieces, and you like literally couldn't grab a piece intentionally. They were so small. It was very frustrating. But now it's done, and I have another 100%. And now I never have to think about that game again. And I did... there was 19 puzzles, and I did 17 of them legitimately. Like, that's fine. That's not just cheesing a game for achievements. And I did take like 8 or 9 hours in total, I think. I can check. 7.2 hours. So it took longer for me to do that than to 100% Trombone Champ. I also haven't played Trombone Champ in a while. That could be a fun April Fool's stream. Not that I've really been streaming long enough here to establish norms to subvert. Maybe I will. Maybe I will play a rhythm game later. I do need to kind of warm my eyes back up for when Musinx comes out on Friday. Assuming that's still coming out on Friday. Let's see. Musinx return. Game delayed to April 3rd. Which is in fact going to be Friday. I will not be playing it Friday because I have to close. I'll probably play that Saturday. So maybe I should. Maybe I should open up Donkagu or something. Or actual Musinx. Maybe I'll do that later. My plan was to kind of do this while I messed around with stream elements and making thumbnails and stuff. But then I realized I can't get other headshots while I'm actually streaming. So then I was just kind of like, alright. We also have the Muse Dash April Fool's update. But I have really struggled with playing Muse Dash recently. It just crashes so much, even when I'm running it by itself. And also I don't want to get, like, nuked off of the face of YouTube for playing. I don't think there's any, like, weird copyright music in Muse Dash. I think that's mostly safe to stream. Maybe the HoloLive stuff, like maybe Say Fanfare would get flagged. And, maybe some of the Vocaloid. There's some Deco songs that I think would probably get flagged. I don't know. I was trying really hard for a while. I'm very completionist in a lot of the games that I play. And so, one of my friends and I made a tracker spreadsheet for Muse Dash. And I think I can actually pull this up. I probably still have it. Where we went through and we manually tracked every single song that we had FC'd and AP'd. Which account would this be on? Probably this one. Muse Dash Progress version 2. And it's been a while since we updated this, but at the time, I had FCs on 577 of the 1672 songs, so a little bit over 1/3 of the total songs. And I tried to keep it relatively evenly spread, like I couldn't bring myself to go through and just play 500 easy charts in a row. So I didn't. So 220 of those are easy, 193 are hard, 159 are master, and then 4 of those are hidden. But like we played a lot of Muse Dash, including Yeah, I was only missing 2 base game FCs. And they were both 11, which I do not have an 11 FC. I missed the last note on an 11 and wanted to die. But plenty of 10 FCs, plenty of hard 10 FCs. And then, like, I think I have 110 AP. I think it's brain power, probably. Yeah. So, like, I was fairly good at Muse Dash. Played about 100 hours of it. On top of all of the other rhythm game experience. But then it just, like, stopped loading. So it's like, alright, I guess I'm not playing this anymore. But my goal was to get to 1,000 total FCs in the game, and then I just kind of never did that. Because I think that was coming out of Osu. That was coming out of playing Osu, was when we got into Muse Dash. And Osu, one of my last... Like, when I was deciding to quit Osu, I was like, okay, there's a couple things that I want to do. I want to get a ranked CS10 FC. CS being circle size, 10 being the smallest possible. Very tiny circles. And I did that. So I got my ranked CS10 FC. I wanted to get 1,000 total S ranks, gold S ranks on my account. And I did that. And then I wanted to get a 6-star FC medal. And I did that. And I wanted to get a 300. On like a real map, not a farm map. I did get a 300. I think it's probably not real farm. We're not talking like 30-second jump map type. It was Blue Dragon. The 6-star extra diff that has the stream in the middle, and then the doubles later. Which... I remember I score posted that, and then one of my 4-digit friends went and tried to FC it and couldn't FC it. And I was like, ah, okay, that's probably real. If the farmer friend can't FC it. I'm gonna guess that some people on my friends list are still higher than me, though. Because that's a pretty popular map to HDHR. But then I was just like, yeah, I'm kind of done with Osu. I finished all of my goals. Oh, I wanted to get to 4-digit ranked score. Which I did. I might still be? Do I have a bot in a server where people aren't going to see that I'm checking... Yeah, I still have Bathbot in the server. Rank score. Let's see. Am I still 4-digit ranked score? No, not anymore. Let's see. Rankings... Global... Isn't there a score? Rank score. Okay. I'm not that far off, honestly. I could get back to 4-digit ranked score fairly quickly. Rank 10k is 35 billion. And I'm at 27.5 billion. So like still like comfortably pretty close to 4-digit, even though I haven't logged in and done real plays in like 3 years, 4 years. I was like pretty okay at Osu. I'm not gonna say I was good, but peaked at rank 50k without playing farmy stuff. I mean, like, technically farm, but I played no mod 1s as no mod 1s. Like, real 1k combo plus consistency maps that was my farm fodder. And then also random Hard Rock 2s and small circle size stuff, which just give no PP, despite being ridiculously hard. I think I have like a 250 on a CS 7.8 map, which is short, but still, you know. CS 7.8 is really hard. I don't even think the last time I watched OWC, they didn't even have... I think they went to 7.1 for their Hard Rock 2 pick. So that's harder than the precision difficulty that they were expecting from OWC players. On an easier map, obviously, for SR. But still. They are cowards. I am not. I'll play CS10. But then moved on from that and then went straight into Muse-Dash and was like, I could get 1,000 FCs in this game easily. And I could, if the game worked. What else happened? That was a really cute dog. When I came back from the store, I got out of my car and this like German Shepherd puppy with a little harness on his back walked over. I say little, but he was like up to my knees, but like still very clearly a puppy. Walked over to me in the parking lot and I was like, "Hey, bud. How's it going? Are you supposed to be out here all by your lonesome?" I pet him a little bit and I kind of walked him over where he came from and there's a door open and I was like, "Hey, is this your dog?" They're like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Oh, it's fine. He's cute." His name was Bandit. I just want to make sure you didn't like wander out in traffic or anything. It's very exciting. I do get to see a lot of dogs at my job, which is nice. Although sometimes they're scary. Sometimes I go to take a delivery at like 1 in the morning and I get out of my car and I just see a dark shape moving in the bushes and I'm like, And then it'll start moving towards me very quickly and I'm like, "Oh, okay, hello, hello, hello. I'll give you my food. I don't care." And then it's just like a black lab or something. I see the tail wag and I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're just excited." But when you can't see in the middle of the night, it's a little spooky sometimes. Especially because it's like, you know, it's their spot. This is their place, their territory. They don't know that I'm here to bring food. They just know that there's someone here who's not normally here. It's someone infringing on my space. And especially if it's like a just drop type delivery, and I'm never actually going to see the person. Like if there's a person outside, you know, they can call their dog and be like, "Oh, it's okay, buddy, it's okay, it's just bringing food." But if there's no contact between us, and they're just gonna expect me to drop it off and then leave, do have to walk all the way up to their door. My dog's like, I don't know about this guy. I don't know. I don't know. Seems kind of suspect. Trying to break into my house. It's like, no. It's okay. I'm just here to bring food. You can smell my bag. It smells like food. Hopefully don't have to do this for too much longer, though. It's been nice to build up savings again, but I hate this job, so would like to leave if I can. Also been listening to more of that podcast. The Revolutions podcast. Made it through the July Revolution in 1830. Partway into the revolutions of 1848. All of the backdrop episodes, and made it through France. King Louis Philippe has been toppled. Spread over to Austria and Hungary and Russia. And I think next week or next episode is coming down to Italy. Which is that all of the major areas? France, Prussia, Austria, Hungary, Italy. Yeah, there's 5. So after that, get to deal with all the consequences of these things. He's been doing a really good job setting up the kind of... He talked about it in 1830 too, but how there's kind of 2 parallel things happening. There's a political revolution that is happening, where these kind of Enlightenment-era liberals are trying to overthrow an absolutist monarchy and answer the political question, like, what should the form of government be? What rights do we have? Where do those rights come from? Do they come from... Are they granted to us by the king under the grace of God, or are they natural rights that are inherent in all man type things? And so there's the political question, and then there's the social question, which is like, how should we distribute resources in our country? Like, how do we deal with increasing poverty, and how do we deal with the economy and the distribution of wealth and that sort of thing? Because all those peasants out there, factory workers, do not actually care about the political question. They care about, do I get to eat today? Do I have to sleep on the floor of an apartment with 20 other people for 70% of my rent, or 70% of my income? How do I feed myself and my family? And since I've already listened to Russia, and they talk a little bit about how all of this plays out in Russia during that, we kind of know that the social question does not get answered here. Social question does not really start getting answered until the 1900s, when you start to get union movements and union organizing. At least in the United States. I will admit, I knew very little about the history of Hungary or the Hungarian peoples, or much of Eastern Europe. Is Hungary Eastern Europe or Central Europe? It probably depends on who you ask. It's been fun to learn about. It really makes me want to revisit. Going through 1848 especially really makes me want to revisit some books that I read in undergrad. There's a couple on the development of Romanticism by Isaiah Berlin, where he touches on the relationship between Enlightenment liberalism, nationalism, as in like when you think nationalism, you think Nazis, you think fascism, but nationalism is kind of just an ideology that organizes people around a shared cultural identity, like an imagined cultural identity. And it's just kind of like an organizing force, the same way like a religion or a king is. It's just a way of relating yourself to other people who you don't actually have relations to. Based on like shared common education and shared language and shared like national myth. And so like this is the period when a lot of that is developing for the Central European countries and European countries. France already kind of unleashed that with Napoleon, or pre-Napoleon. Like that's what the Levée en Masse was. You don't go fight for the king because we're conscripting you, you go fight for the country because you're a citizen of the country. And then all of a sudden your armies go from being 20,000 strong to 300,000 strong, or whatever it was. Like you just have a much larger pool of people to work with if you have convinced everyone that they have a personal stake in protecting this shared community identity. And so, one of the other books on that list is obviously Imagined Communities, which I read part of in undergrad, and then I finished the rest of a couple years ago. I don't think it was... I was living in this apartment, so it couldn't have been that long ago, but there was a lot of it that I did not understand because I just did not have the cultural knowledge, or like the historical knowledge, to get all of the stuff that he was talking about, but like... he uses a lot of examples and has a very deep understanding of history. So I do want to revisit that as well. And then also, I took an immigration policy class in undergrad that had a cool textbook on the history of immigration policy in the United States that I took, like, my freshman year. So I was a little baby, and I did not know how to read good things yet, and I did not know how to analyze things very well yet. So even though I had a lot of background in political science, that was a hard class, and I actually lost the book for it in one of my moves. But I found it. Well, I didn't find the book, I found the name of the book, and then I reordered the book on Thrift Books. And then also a book that I'd been meaning to eventually get around to, but has been coming up more and more with regards to nationalism and all of these old revolutions and Romanticism especially. Book Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green, where he kind of goes in and ties a bunch of these historical threads together using how humanity has dealt with tuberculosis in the past. And one of those things he claims is the French Revolution. Tuberculosis ends up messing with the royal line of succession and is part of the reason that some of the crises in 1789 happen. Which I think that's just like true. it may not be the only straw that breaks the camel's back, but there's a hefty load of stuff on the camel's back in the late 1700s in France, watching the three estates just kind of crumble. But then it's like, I don't know, it is really just everywhere throughout human history up until the 1900s. So much of why people do the things that they do, where they are, who ends up living to old age, to have influence, and who burns out young, is very much tuberculosis. It's all tuberculosis. Simon Bolivar, tuberculosis. So I was like, yeah, I should probably read this. I like his writing, even if it's not generally the most rigorous. That sounds like a dig. It's not. I really like his writing. And I like his nonfiction writing, and I like the lens that he used to view the world, even though it's just I'm using a source that is not the same kind of, like, very academic historical approach that I normally take. It's more of a literature take on history, which is cool. That's an interesting, different way of presenting history to make that accessible to more people. That's cool. I like that. That's good. More people should do that. It's just not the kind of thing that I normally read. So we'll see. I don't know. And then I have some linguistics books that I need to finish. I just haven't been doing a whole lot of sit-down reading lately. Good. I should. Once it gets a little warmer, there's a park that's not too far from me that has two excellently spaced trees for my hammock. And it's really easy for me to grab my camera bag with, like, one lens, a book, and my hammock. Just go set that up. But got this book because there was a single article in it that I wanted to read. And then I read that article, but the rest of it's probably worth reading. It's one of the Cambridge Applied Linguistics series that takes a bunch of publications from various journals that are around a certain theme and tries to put them together in, like, an edited, coherent way. And it's a book about second language vocabulary acquisition. Excuse me. I've already read some of the books in this series, and they were pretty good. I mean, obviously varying, because it's just, like, 10 articles stapled together, but there's a lot of interesting threads, and, one of my big fears and things that I am constantly keeping in mind as I'm doing this kind of research reading is that I'm trying not to get stuck in, like, one particular little citation bubble. So, like, yes, obviously, you know, this is something that's interesting, follow this citation to see who wrote this about this and who's responding to this. But getting stuck in one tiny little sub field when there are other things happening in that academic space, I'm scared of that, because I'm basically, what I'm trying to do is the reading equivalent that you would do in a master's, but without a full-time advisor. So, like, an advisor would be able to tell me, here is the whole scope of the subdiscipline that you are looking at, here are good intro texts to get into all of the different sides of this debate and different dimensions this research is happening on. but I can't really do that on my own necessarily. It's like very hard. It's very easy to get stuck in one specific line. In these edited volumes, they do a pretty good job of kind of covering more research ground. But I do try. I try to be as wide reading as I can when it comes to this stuff. Like obviously I've developed my own opinions about how second language acquisition works based on my own experiences combined with research and the communities that I'm a part of. But I do try to go read other research, see if anything in those can inform my belief, because it's a really complicated issue. Learning languages is really hard. There's a lot of things happening, both on like a mechanical level in your brain and like a study, like individual level, like motivation and reasons and societal level for, you know, opportunities and access to language resources and encouragement or discouragement of learning languages at all. Like there's a lot of big pieces in this puzzle to solve. And try to contextualize any study or information that you have. It's like, oh, you know, are you learning English because you want to learn English, because you, like, you know, want to watch TV? Or are you learning English because you need to for a job? Or are you learning English because you need to for school? Or, you know, things like that. Or on the inverse, are you not learning a language because of social reasons? Like if you're a second generation immigrant family, it's like, you know, what is your reason to learn your heritage language other than communicating with your family? Do you need to learn the language more than that? So you end up with kids coming home from school that want to like talk to their parents or grandparents about the kinds of things they were learning at school, and they just don't know the words to do that outside of their school language. They go to use their home or heritage language, and they're just like, I don't know. A lot of things happening. And then also, like, what does it mean to learn a language? People talk about wanting to have, like, full, complete fluency, but that's just unrealistic for most people in most situations, and also unnecessary for most people in most situations. You learn language for reasons. If you want to watch anime, you learn the kind of language that's in anime. If you want to read papers, you learn the language that's in papers. If you want to learn language for travel reasons, then, you know, learn language for travel reasons. There's all of these different kinds of scopes that restrict your goals with language learning. And what learning a language is going to be different to different people who have different goals and different needs, especially as adults. Very much it's functionalist. Like, I wanted to learn Japanese so I could play video games and read manga, play visual novels. And I've found cool things to do on the side of that, but those were the main driving forces behind me wanting to study the Japanese language. And now that I can do those things, it's like, okay, do I need to study more? Like hard study, like pick up textbooks and do kanji study practice. Like, the level of language that I have right now is comfortable for a lot of the kinds of things that I want to do. And if I continue doing things like this, I will naturally continue getting better at them. So, Do I need to hard study? Do I need to, like, pull out the N1 textbook and really push the kinds and difficulty of things that I'm engaged with? And then I go to play, like, Okami, and it's like, yes. Yes, I do need to get better to be able to comfortably do the things that I want to do. Because I like playing stupid stuff. God, that game was so hard. I mean, like, the game itself is not hard, because it's just like a Zelda game. And it's really good. I love Okami. It's one of my favorite games of all time, but language in that game is insane. Or every winter, one of my friends hosts an Aozora Advent. Aozora being the user-submitted public domain works site in Japan, kind of like Project Gutenberg is for old, out-of-copyright texts in English and other European languages. And a lot of these are unmodernized, so they, one, don't have modern kana, which is already hard, and two, they use old vocabulary, and then sometimes a lot of the stuff on that site is actually old enough to still be written with elements of classical Japanese. Which is scary, because classical Japanese just is like a totally different language. It's like putting Beowulf in front of you and being like, oh, you speak English, you can read this, right? It's like, no. Cannot do that. There's a whole different grammar system. I do have a textbook for classical Japanese that I do need to get through at some point. I wanted to do that before Okami 2 comes out, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But also, I don't know when Okami 2 is coming out, so maybe that'll be like 5 years from now, and I'll be well on my way to, you know, doctorate level historical reading, puzzling over texts type Japanese. That does seem to be the direction that I'm trying to go. Because I do also want to get into the more academic side of Japanese. Read articles and get access to a lot of that untranslated linguistics research. Especially with regards to sociolinguistic stuff. So things like Japanese dialects and all of the research that's been done on Ainu language and the Ryukyuan languages. And there's a lot of cool language stuff out there that is being done, but only in Japanese. And obviously, you know, second language acquisition research. And also geology research. There was something that I was looking up recently where the Japanese geologist understanding was just totally different than the English-speaking world understanding of a subject. I was like, whoa, that's like really interesting that there's such a deep research like camp divide between the English-speaking and Japanese-speaking geologists on this subject. But Japan also has a lot of cool geology. There are a lot of cool rocks in Japan. And I like rocks. So, would like to read about those. I don't know. There's a lot of Japanese stuff that I like. But then I like, you know, you look at the kinds of things that I can do in Japanese. I can read really well. I can listen okay. but like my speaking, I have no reason to speak to people in Japanese. I have no opportunities and no need to speak to people in Japanese. Would I like to be able to do that? Yeah, probably. But just that's not a thing that is in my necessary goals list for how I use and interact with this language. The parts of the Japanese internet that I engage with, I don't particularly want to engage with in like a text sense. Or don't have access to, like with Line. Or they're very like one-sided, like YouTube chat or YouTube comments. Like I leave those sometimes. I like what someone's doing. Because, you know, you watch a streamer who has like 20 concurrent viewers playing a game, you'd be like, yeah, great job. I love your stuff. Like that means a lot to them. So I like doing that for people. But most of the stuff that I work with is exclusively going from Japanese to English if I'm doing translations, or just me reading in Japanese to whatever Japanese in my brain understanding, or like internal understanding without direct translation. Oh. Puzzle. Sorry, someone's posting our magic spoilers for the day. Some of these are really good. Land tax reprint is insane. Oh, that was one thing. I learned to play... So I played Magic the Gathering for a very long time. I was a rules advisor back when that was still a thing that existed. So I have like a pretty deep understanding of the rules, not necessarily to like a judge trained level, but I know how to look at the rules. I know the general stuff. And have gotten better at that over the years as well, being able to look at abilities and understand how and why they work on an underlying level. I know what layers are. Stuff that's more advanced, but I decided to try playing Arena in Japanese to learn some of the card types and stuff, because I thought it would be really cool to be able to go to a Japanese game store and talk Magic when we go to Japan. Be able to talk about Magic and maybe play Magic. And then I built a whole deck with Japanese cards to challenge myself and be able to read things and find lines and stuff, even though I don't understand 100% of the words, and obviously I don't have all of the keywords memorized or the like thousands of cards that you can reference by name and people understand what they do. But at least like the mechanical words. And they actually aren't that bad once you learn a couple really important things. Like understanding what bits mean may, especially. Searching libraries and ordering and stuff like that. So I built a funny Cerulf Stacks deck, because I also wanted it to be kind of mechanically complex. It has like a very specific game plan that I think is really strong in the bracket 3, bracket 4 range, depending on like it consistently gives my forever tier 4 Omnath or bracket 4 Omnath deck a run for its money when I play them against each other head to head. And it just blows up basically any bracket 3 deck that I play against. Cerulf's pretty good, I think. I think he's a very underrated card in Commander. He just, by his nature, is very disruptive and exiles things for free. But I think people try to build him too, they try to build around him too much. Even other stacks decks in this archetype that I've looked at. Because Cerulf, he gets +1/+1 counters when things die, and then at the beginning of your upkeep you can remove that many +1/+1 counters to exile everything else, all other non-land permanents, with mana cost that or below, right? And so people are like, okay, how do I turn this into like an infinite value engine? How do I give him like a billion +1/+1 counters so I can exile the board every turn? It's like, you don't need to do that. Magic is a resource game, and Commander is a format where people play they invest a lot of their early mana into resources. So if you get Cerulf on 2, if you have Cerulf blow up for 2, you blow up everyone's mana rocks and mana fixing and fast mana. And like early artifacts for free. And then you have a big guy on the board, and you're like 3 turns ahead of everyone in terms of development. And then you can just like Voltron. You just smack people. That wolf, he's big. Make him big. Hit people. He makes himself bigger. And then you can play like stacks pieces to keep people locked down. Blow up their lands, and you know, throw actual smokestack in there, and all that kind of stuff. So you really only need him to activate that ability once. And then he's just a big guy who gets bigger. Just neat. But I think that's not a level that most bracket 3 and bracket 4 commanders are thinking about building decks at. They're very... Normally decks in this power range are very like, I want to invest totally in my commander and build totally around my commander so that he does the thing that he does the best. And go really over the top with value, and saw a video call it like tall commander. Everyone wants their commander to do the most things and have the most value and most abilities, and this deck just shuts down other people's ability to have value. Oh, like, you wanted that artifact in the graveyard so you can bring it back? Nope. Exiled. You wanted that fast mana so that you can play your commander on turn 4 instead of turn 7? No. And then people, like, don't run enough land. Because they think, oh, you know, I have all these mana rocks. Those are mana, right? I can run 30 mana in my deck, 30 lands in my deck, and have 10 of those be utility lands. It's like, no. I'm gonna shut you down, and then I'm gonna blow up your lands too. You're never playing your commander. You're never getting to 7 mana to play your cool thing. I promise. Is that a mean way to play commander? Maybe. But bracket 4 is supposed to be high power and high efficiency. Your deck has a game plan and it executes it well. Doesn't say anything about whether that game plan is fun or not. I mean, like, Ristic Studies is still legal. This is an educational deck for teaching people about how to play good Magic. If you try to play bad, greedy Magic against this deck, you lose. Guaranteed. Like 99% of the time. Because then it also just does have the ability to search up a turn 4. Or a 4 mana infinite combo at any time. And just kill you. Which I think is neat. So like you spend all of your resources removing my... The idea is that you spend all of your resources either removing my commander or removing the stacks pieces or reinvesting in your own thing. Reinvesting in your own game plan and then... Oh, wow. You know, I still have 4 mana open. Whoops. Witherbloom Apprentice time. Chain of Smog, baby. Is it Smog? Chain is Smog something. Yeah, Chain of Smog. Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog. It's a 4 mana infinite combo. Deals infinite damage to everyone else. And if you used all your counter magic, stopping me from blowing up your lands, that in itself is a form of defense. Magic is a game of resource management. This is the principle of having 2 threats. If you're familiar with this idea in chess, that the way that you win a game of chess is by getting an advantage, simplifying down, and then having a board state that contains 2 threats. Where your opponent may have the resources to defend against one of the threats, but not both of the threats. You create 2 separate threats. Because if you only have one threat, even if you have a material advantage, a lot of times they can find a way to defend with less material. But if you have 2 threats, then their resources are spread too thin. And then you can kill them. You win. A lot of times that's just like a passed pawn with a rook behind it. That's a threat. You have to defend against that, or I get a queen and then I win the game. But then, you know, also have some attack on the other side of the board happening that they have to be defending against at the same time. Stuff like that. Wow. Why is this card so expensive now? I don't think this was a $7 card when I built this deck. Has it gone up recently? It's gone up a lot recently. Yeah, I got it for like $4, and now it's up to 8 on TCG Player. I don't think I got a foil, did I? Hold on. Let me grab the deck. Okay, let's take a little, let's take a gander in here. This deck is not actually finished because there's a couple cards that I wanted to proxy, and I wanted to print nice proxies for it. But like 95 of the cards are real, and also all Japanese. Here is my Chain of Smog. Oh, I forgot I got an ad nauseum. Akatsuki. I do really like this Japanese crop rotation. There's like a promo. Okay, the Witherbloom was foil. The Witherbloom was foil. Silent Arbiter. Where is my chain? And it has a backup version of this combo with Chain of Acid. Okay. Chain is not foil. But I don't know, I'm pretty proud of this deck. I think it has an interesting game plan that's pretty rare to have in Commander. Like, Stacks is not an archetype that you play against a lot in Commander. And especially not this kind of, like, combo Stacks / tempo deck. Because it really is a Voltron deck. It buffs Sarulf a lot by, like, it sort of gets 2-for-1s. Because you can play removal spells in this deck, and then removal spells also buff your commander. And then the things that buff your commander also serve as removal spells. So it gets a lot of interesting value in that way. It may still need a little fine-tuning as I play against more decks, but I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's pretty cool. But when I play against people, they just have to kind of trust that the cards do what I say they do. Because no one else in my playgroup can read Japanese, so I'm just like, well, I can tell you what this card does. I can pull it up on Scryfall. But you kind of gotta trust me. Or have a really good working memory. I think it's neat, though. I do still need some cards for it, though, actually. I was gonna order my fetches for it, but I was waiting to get some of those reprinted, because I think they're gonna reprint the rest of those soon. But I don't know. We'll see. I have some other decks that I want to build that are more fair. Or at least potentially more fair. Like Mono White Angels as a control deck. But like make it bracket 3. Or Lobster. Lobster's funny. And then I've also been working on building a Pauper pod for people to play in between Commander games. So just have like 4 ready to go Pauper competitive decks with sideboards and stuff that are all designed to be at the same level and play against each other. So that, you know, you get knocked out of a game like 45 minutes before it ends. Now we can go play 10 games of Pauper in between that. And you get to be, you know, learn how to play the competitive side of Magic. In addition to playing the fun casual side. And play with more different kinds of abilities and learn more about resource management and the kinds of things that casual Commander doesn't really teach you. And it's cheap. Pauper's cool. I love Pauper. Pauper's so much fun. It's like playing Legacy, but it costs $50. Everything's so fast. But I'm fascinated by this Cawblade, or sorry, not Cawblade, Cawgate deck that's been getting popular recently. Play Squadron Hawk and just like a bunch of guild gates, and then the land that buffs based on the number of gates that you have. And so you play this as like a control mid-range deck. Just like slowly overwhelm with card advantage. Because like Brainstorm and Squadron Hawk, that's a combo that's been around forever. Right? You know, you have a Brainstorm in hand, you have a Squadron Hawk in hand, you play the Squadron Hawk, you draw all your Squadron Hawks, and then you Brainstorm, and then you just put 2 of the Squadron Hawks back on top of your library and then do something to shuffle them away. And then you can get them back. So it's basically just like you get to play Ancestral Recall with like an extra step. Because you're drawing 3 cards, guaranteed, off of every Brainstorm. But that's been a thing forever, like since actual Callblade. With like Jace the Mind Sculptor doing Brainstorm, and Squadron Hawk, and Jite, and all the swords. Has a good deck. But every time I start to get back into Magic, Wizards does more things that make me be like, do I really want to support this company? Like, the game is great. I love Magic. But don't know if I want to support the company that much. As they get into funny Hasbro Universes Beyond business. And kind of like mess with the underlying formula of the game. Like, why are we reprinting Storm, dude? Why? We don't need Storm back. I promise. It's okay, we can leave that one in the dustbin of history. Like, some of them are cool. I don't mind the Lord of the Rings cards. But Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, I mean, even Avatar. Avatar has like that's a cool set that has a cool identity, and I still think that's probably pushing it a little bit. Magic already has a really strong internal narrative. I don't think we really need to be looking to other places to build full sets. Like Secret Lairs, sure, whatever, you know, get a reprint of a card with Miku on it. I don't know about... or like guest artists, or stuff like that. I don't know about building whole sets around these things, though. Kinda rubs me the wrong way. Especially when it's like, you know, Marvel garbage. I don't know. I like Magic, though. Good game. Interesting game. Very deep, complex. Lots of different ways to play it. Especially ways that are community designed. Which is one of the reasons that I used to like Commander more. Is that it was entirely community maintained. Or like Pauper. A thing that's like not really super designed around and then self-maintained. Or Cube. Cube's great. I love it when people build cubes. I'll play a cube any day. Even though I'm generally more of a constructed player than a draft player. Drafting is still fun. Also builds a different kind of toolkit than most players get to use. I'm so tired. I stayed up way too late last night working on stuff. Like, I thought it was like maybe 2 or 3, and then I looked over and I saw light coming through the curtain, and I was like, oh, it's 7 a.m. I need to go to sleep. But I need to read first. Because I'm not allowed to miss a day of reading. Doesn't matter how tired I am, doesn't matter if I'm at work, doesn't matter if I'm literally in a camp or like in a tent in the woods. I am not allowed to miss a day of reading. I need to read something substantive in Japanese every day. Every single day. There are no exceptions. I have. For years. And at this point, I don't know if I could stop, honestly. At this point, it's more of a compulsion than a habit. If I try to go to sleep without reading sometime. Like, there was a time that I tried to go to sleep without reading, and I just, like, couldn't go to sleep until I read. It's like, I need to do this. I can't not do this. So I flipped open my phone and found something random on Pixup. Oh, and read that. I should probably actually do a test here. Do like an actual counter test. Now that I'm using White Flute, I don't actually know what my encounter rate per hour is. Just like do a 10-minute test and actually count my encounters. Maybe 10 minutes is too long. I mean, it's not too long, but too long to keep that focused for. Oh, especially when I'm this tired. I really need to get back to rune crafting. I still do want to max this year, but I've just like, I'm so burnt out from playing RuneScape. I played so much in the last couple months. Like, I still easily think that I have enough time to max. It's mainly just, like, do the remaining rune crafting, and then do agility, and then everything else happens more or less passively. Or with very minimal time investment. Like, under 50 hours. Like, Slayer happens passively. All the combats happen passively. Prayer basically happens passively. Like, doing the actual act of training prayer is fast. It's just getting the bones. But like, I used a whole bunch of my banked XP and I went from 85 to 92, which is 25% of the total XP to 99, and I did that in like a day. Like, it's very fast. And I still have, I think, like 95 banked. I was waiting to get 96, because that's another prayer potion bump. There's not a whole lot of reason to go from 92 to 95. But rune crafting, I'm still fairly, like, even though I'm 97, I think I still have like 70 or 80 hours left of that. So I really should be doing that as my AFK thing. especially when I'm doing Pokemon streams, stuff like that. Just have that going in the background because it's very, very low effort doing Zaya RC, especially with idle indicator. I don't know. Agility, I need to find time to do agility, really. And, like, make my planks. I have, like, 30,000 teak planks that I need to make, and I could do it in, like, a day with POH method, but I was kind of waiting on them to fix the log basket so you could fill it from the bank, or while in the bank interface. Which they've, I think, said they want to do while they were standardizing all of their container options. But closing... Dude, needing to close your log basket, or close the bank to fill the log basket, and then reopen the bank is just... It's too much work. I'll just do POH method. Butler on a PvP world type. Excuse me? Thank you. I did kind of just realize that I'm going to have a problem with my current way of tracking shinies. Eventually, at some point in the future. Playtime only goes to 999 hours. But I guess, I don't know, I run into this problem with like DexNav shinies in Gen 6. There's like, how do you track something when the game only tracks up to 999? For like doing eggs. It's like, well, you know, if I hit 1,000 eggs, I know I'm dry. I know that I should have a shiny by now. But I don't know how much further over that I am. And I just kind of stopped caring. The shiny happens when it happens. But it's nice for like video making and streaming and stuff to be like, yeah, I've been doing this for 70 hours. Especially when you're doing like RuneScape style. Cut out the 10 hours between every level, and then you just get a montage of clips that's leveling up and leveling up, level up, level up, level up. Seems really fast. And then at the end of the video, they're like, yeah, I think this video took me 250 hours of playtime, and you're like, yeah, okay. That sounds about right. Like when Limpword's doing RC. It's like, yeah, I killed 250,000 Minotaurs to get Pure Essence. And you're like, buddy, what? You killed 250,000 Minotaurs? What do those have? 10 hit points? Like 10 or 11 hit points each? 250,000. 250,000. 3 million HP XP just off of Minotaurs. So it's like 12 million in a combat style. It's basically the same as going from 1 to 99 in like strength. Just to get the pure essence that you need for 2 million RC XP. Whatever it was. People are crazy, dude. Say while spending 200 hours jumping in a patch of grass. I mean, I guess I will be moving on to other games at some point. not all of my shiny hunting will be done in Sapphire. Especially as I move to do more soft recent hunts for legendaries in Fire Red Leaf Green. Be going over to there. But I do like random encounter hunts still. I have plenty of Pokemon that I want to have shiny. And I do want to finish National Dex on this file. So this is kind of my main Gen 3 file right now. Oh, they're reprinting Amaria? Drumbellower. What the hell is Drumbellower? Yeah. I was gonna use that in Lobster. Oh, I need to do Anki today. You know how I was saying if I don't need to study, I'm doing good. It's a lie. I need to, if I'm gonna do N1 this year, I need to be actively studying a little bit. So I cleaned up my Anki and started doing that again. Even though I really do not like doing flashcards. And I've been making at least a couple flashcards a day for whatever I find in my reading. Try not to, like, overload it. But it does help. I know it helps. I have a bunch of research that says it helps, and also personal experience that it helps. I know it does make a difference to see kanji in isolation, and then get exposed to those, and then have that be reinforced by words. Even like yesterday, one of the new kanji in my kanji deck was the kanji for knit, or like weave, and then I started playing a game, and I was like, oh, that's that kanji. So like, I know it works, I know it's helpful, I just hate doing it. The deck that I've been going through is very similar in structure to Wanikani, where it breaks up kanji and vocab and radicals, and so every quote-unquote level has a certain set of radicals that are in a certain set of kanji, and then there's vocab that goes along to reinforce the readings for those particular kanji. And it's structured very similar to Wanikani, but it's in Anki, because paying $10 a month is kind of crazy for a flashcard service. And then also, on Anki I can do stuff like delete the things that I already know, so they don't waste my time. Or suspend leeches so that I don't have to see them. That's a problem that I see a lot of learners run into when they do Wanikani or similar SRS services. Is that, like, when you have a leech, that means that whatever method that you are using to study this word is ineffective. That means that the shotgun approach of do a billion words in SRS and see which sticks, that means it's in the part that is never sticking to the wall. with that method. To learn this word, you will need to do other things. And then people are like, why can't I just like do more SRS to memorize this word? It's like, because your brain has already decided that's not a word that it wants to remember with SRS. Like, you need to go do something else. Just seeing that word every day, you'll like remember that it's a leech. You likely will never remember what it means or what the reading is. You'll just keep getting frustrated by it and then not want to do it. And so when you get those leeches, delete them. Just hit the delete button. It doesn't matter. You'll see that word again if it matters. And you'll see it in context with other things. Especially if you're like just a baby learner and still in like common words. Like, you're gonna see all of those words again. Like, you're gonna see all of those kanji in context a million times as you get into reading and listening and stuff. Like, don't worry if you can't remember the reading for, like, I don't even know. It's been so long. Like, don't worry. You'll get exposed to those words enough. But especially for the JLPT, kanji reading, big part of what they explicitly test. And of my reading things, that's one of the weaker areas. Like, I'm pretty good at understanding what a sentence or paragraph means without knowing all of the words. Like, gun to my head, could not tell you what the reading of this kanji is, but I can tell you what it means, especially in context. I can tell you what it is saying here. But then they like to test you on tricky readings and stuff. It's like, meh. I guess I should actually memorize these. But a lot of the things that I even remember being tricky readings, the last time I was doing JLPT study, are no longer tricky things. But last time I was doing explicit study, it was when I was getting ready for N2, and that was years ago at this point. I had one of my eyes closed, and the color looked off on that for a second, but it didn't look green. I was like, what is wrong with this Skarmory? It's like, why is it? It looked almost like orange. That's not what a shiny Skarmory looks like. To back. So, yeah. I have been doing JLPT study again. Slowly ramping it up. Because I also haven't been doing much actual reading. So slowly getting back into doing more, like a higher volume of reading, and slowly getting back into doing flashcards and study, and then eventually I'll start doing actual JLPT practice questions again. And then work that up into another full practice test to see how I'm doing. Then one would be nice. That would be a nice thing to put on the resume. Especially now that Jet's open. Again. Jet would be nice. Well, the ALT would not be nice. I think I would die doing ALT work. That is just not the kind of thing that I'm interested in doing. That's more for people who are like just trying to get out and do something post-school, and I'm looking for more career placement type. translators don't really get paid very well. So all of the translation work that I do is kind of just portfolio building type. I mostly do it for free, for my own benefit, my own satisfaction. Although, maybe that'll open some doors. I don't know. Make some connections. We shall see. Hard to predict anything that's going to happen in the next few years at any level. So we're just kind of rolling with it. Be ready for anything. Been thinking a lot about one of the organizing parties for the July Revolution of 1830 in France. And one of the reasons why they were so well organized and in the right position to do a fait accompli is that they were very prepared and the conservative government was not. But they called themselves the Help Yourself and Heaven Will Help You party. So if you set yourself up for success when the opportunity arises, then all you have to do is wait for the right opportunity and recognize it when it comes, and then you're in a good spot. Which is kind of what I'm trying to do. But let me tell you, the waiting gets kind of boring. Even with how fast a lot of these revolutions happen in this podcast, you pay attention to a lot of the dates, there is a lot of downtime for these guys. Especially anytime there's like war actions. Because like half the year you can't fight a war. It's the middle of winter. Just kind of sitting around waiting. As hot-headed and as impatient as these guys are, they're still sitting around stewing in their tents for 6 months every year. And the total course of these events might, it might climax in a week, but the total sum of things that lead up to these events might be decades. And the waiting does get kind of boring. The wait period can be here long enough that entire generations of these people come and go in between the major battles and points and events. Just kind of sitting around waiting, hoping that something will happen, and then they will be ready to take advantage of that. And sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes 20, 30 years pass, and all of a sudden, you're no longer the youth on the leading edge, ready to pounce on this opportunity. with regards to many kinds of things, not just revolutions, obviously. It's just like, okay, you know, we're sitting around here waiting for this economic situation to resolve itself. Or, you know, like, if you graduated and were trying to go into the workforce in, like, 2008 or 2009, it's like, well, okay. Just kind of gotta wait this out to see where the market settles. What kinds of skills will be valuable in whatever market forms next. Or like 90s in Japan, after the bubble bursts, it's like just kind of waiting around to see where the ball falls. What kinds of jobs are going to be available? What's it going to do to property prices? Are they ever going to bounce back? It makes me really happy when I see people talking about Magic that I, like, have had conversations about certain kinds of game design and deck building things, and then they will use the words that I have put into their mouths. So it's like, yes, you did correctly understand the lesson that I was trying to teach, and are now applying those to your own decks. Watching some people talk right now about this card being a win more card in a deck. It's like, yes, it does things that are really good for the deck, but I think it might just be overkill. It's just a win more card. I'm like, yes, that's a word that I taught you. I need a nap. Shouldn't take a nap. Really want to take a nap. It's such a nice, like, cool, wet evening. Can turn on my fan and get some nice spring air in here. Turn on the electric blanket, take a nap. I should have done it when I got back from the store, but I wasn't quite ready for a nap at that point. Now, I really want a nap. At work the other night, my boss came up to me and was like, "Hey, you're a computer guy, right? You know how computers work." And I had to be like, "Sometimes. Yes, maybe. It depends on what you need." And then all she needed me to do was do some cable management. I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah. I can do this. I can do cable management. That's within my skill set." Because sometimes things break, and it's like, I'm so locked out of any actual tech troubleshooting here that there's no way that I'm going to be able to do anything here. But then sometimes it's like, oh man, why isn't our speaker working? You're an audio guy, right? You can go look at our speaker. And then I turn it around and it's like, oh, dog, you just didn't plug in the speaker cable. Yeah, like, yeah, of course the speaker's not going to work if you don't plug in the speaker cable. But then because it's like actual like speaker wire, not like an RCA cable, they're like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I'm scared of touching the exposed metal. And it's like, man, just do it. Just stick it in there, jam it in there, and lock it. It's not that hard. Wow, we have stereo speakers again. Crazy. So I did some cable management and I cleaned up as much as I could because I wasn't allowed to unplug anything, and some of the cables were run through insane places that without mastering topology I was not going to be able to extract them. So I was just like, okay, I made it look as nice as I can without unplugging anything. It's like, cool, thank you. It looks much nicer now. And it does. It does look nicer. There were a lot of dangly boys hanging out over food preparation areas, which is not a recipe for success. Very easy to accidentally catch and pull things. All that kind of stuff. I should go do that for my setup, but since I'm about to go rip a whole bunch of stuff out and reorganize things when I get the second GameCube set up, probably not a great time to do that. I have to move everything around anyway. I need to relabel things too. After I swapped everything out for S-Video, I never actually relabeled any of my switches. So anytime I need to swap consoles, I just like hit random buttons on my S-Video switch until something comes through. Just fine, there's only 4 inputs on it, and one of them I know is coming from the composite switch. I don't have a component switch. I don't even know if these TVs take component. They probably do. Like, it would be weird for a PVM to not take those inputs. RGB, that's the word I was looking for. But these are just little baby PVMs. I'm still searching, I'm still looking. I would like to get a real PVM. Big boy. Like a 13 or 14 inch. But, I don't know, 3 Sony Trinitrons. Even if they're 8 inch, that's still 3 Sony Trinitrons. But I'm rapidly running out of space to just have CRTs in my apartment. I think I have 5 or 6 right now. Which is a lot. That's a lot of CRTs for a normal person to have. Most people do not have that kind of space or need for that many CRTs, and somehow I do. I can legitimately find a use case for having all of these. But I'm interested in getting a multi-viewer at some point. Like, obviously not for these little baby signals, or these little baby TVs, but having a multi-viewer to do 4 hunts or whatever at once would be cool. Because I can run GBA games on my Wiis. That's a thing that I can do. Like, I can, if I save here... No, I have. I actually have this on. I actually can't. No, I do. I can't. Okay. So we have the Wii, and then we go to Homebrew. And then we can run Virtual Boy Advance on this. And then we can play games on the Wii like this, and I have a bunch of Wiis that are all set up. So I would just need some way of doing Wavebird. Get a couple Wavebird receivers. Four? Yeah, four. Okay. So I can pretty easily run multiple GBA games at once, especially if I'm actually dumping the same file, the same save file from this. And then those can trade over, obviously. I have a Wii to GBA link cable that it can actually attach to the, what's it called? Game Boy Advance player. So things are coming together, but I have at least 2 Wiis down here that I think are in hackable states. One of them may already be hacked. I don't remember. I think one of them is for parts, because the disk drive had a bunch of random Canadian currency and ash in it. But I don't actually need the disk drive, so as long as that still functions, I can rip that out. And then one of them might be hacked, and then one of them I think I can hack fairly quickly at this point. I've done a lot of these. Then with this GameCube, with the GameCube that's coming in, and 2 Wiis, and a multi-viewer, I could run 4 consoles at once on one Wavebird controller. Which will be nice for soft reset hunts, especially. Although I do really like just hunting on one game. I'm a fan. It's odd. It's just kind of classic, you know? Up in the grass for a while. See some Pokemon. Like this Spinda. Look at him. Hi, Spinda. Or this other Spinda. Hi, Spinda. This sand shrew. Look at him. He's waving. Cute little guy. I do think I want a nap, actually. I'm gonna try to make it to 8 o'clock here. And then call it for now. It's got some good shiny hunting in today. Some good encounters. Good yapping. Nice relaxing stream. We'll see about doing a real game either later tonight or tomorrow. Need to still kind of figure out what I want to do for that. And then I'm trying to find a way to make Japanese game stream work. Because a lot of it is just gonna be me like looking at text and kind of like nodding along. And then occasionally looking up a word and reacting to stuff. But I'm not gonna like read these games out loud because a lot of them already have voice acting. Which if you can't read Japanese, it's just gonna be like, man, what's happening? What's going on? But you can also just read way faster if you're not reading aloud. And also, I read ahead of speech sometimes in games with like really slow audio. I will skip through your spam. I'm just gonna, if I see that, I'm just skipping to the next line. I know what that says. If you're getting all flustered about something, I'm just click through. Actually tripping. That's weird. In my last apartment, I had a really big ant problem. They were like living in the foundation of the building, like in the wood in the walls, and so they would get out pretty much everywhere to go forage for food or whatever. And they really liked walking across my desk, because sometimes they'd find crumbs from whatever I was eating. So I still have a little bit of a PTSD reflex to, I see some small black object moving at approximately ant pace across an object, or across like a surface, and I'm just like, I'll just like slap it, and then half the time it's just like a floater in my eye, or like the blind spot in my eye. There is no ant there. There is no bug. But I can't tell my brain that there isn't. It just thinks there is. And it's not gonna take no for an answer until I actually swap it, or slap it, and then there's nothing there. Fortunately, have not had any bug problems with this this apartment. But I also keep it pretty clean, or try to. I generally keep things clean. And if I don't in this apartment, this is a studio, so if anything is dirty anywhere, I see it at all times, and it's like... I need to clean that. And then I clean it. And especially with like cooking messes, it's like if I leave dishes in the sink, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna smell those everywhere that I go. Need to like actually clean those. But then there's positives too, because you know, you do laundry and then everything smells like laundry, which is nice. You know, you mop the floor. I think that that smells nice. I think it smells clean and like bright and fruity because it's always got some like citrus in it. You sweep stuff and you wipe it down. It's like, it smells like cleaning chemicals, but like the nice kind of cleaning chemical. But I also like the smell of bleach, so take that with a grain of salt. I used to work in a pool, and I was a swimmer for a long time, so chlorine smells good to me, I guess. Nostalgic. Bet I could do that again. See if the pool's hiring. I mean, I know they probably are. They would just need to be hiring for a job that I could do. For a wage that I'd be willing to work at. I don't think I could get lifeguard certified right now. I would have to go train for a couple months to get back in shape for that. I haven't been a swimmer in a long time. And I would need to do the test and certification again and all that. Which I've like done before, so it wouldn't entirely be new to me. And then obviously I've done education and stuff, so swim lessons. Easy. I have very fond memories of writing out little report cards on a bench outside the pool. For all my little baby swimmers. It was a nice job. I mean, it was like hard work for being like a high schooler. Like literally being responsible for people's lives when also like not even being a real adult yourself yet. For minimum wage. It was a lot of responsibility and kind of stressful sometimes. Because it's customer service plus education plus like emergency response plus like safety authority. So like being able to like tell people like, hey man, you can't be doing that. I know it's fun, but it's dangerous for you and for others. And having to like deal with people getting mad about that. Like, you see this shirt? You see this whistle? It is my job to tell you you can't do this. I would not be telling you to do this. I would not be telling you you can't if it weren't actually dangerous. But then that's one of those things where it's like, you know, you pick up certain habits while you're doing certain things and they just like stick with you forever. Like I still fold towels, like my boss taught me to fold towels at that job. Even though that was 15 years ago. It's just like, I don't know, you do laundry, that's how you fold the towels. I still think about our little teaching mnemonics, or functionally mnemonics for kids. When we were teaching them how to do backstroke. Arm is a laser gun, and you point it up at the aliens in the sky, and then you shoot the aliens and you turn your hand around. Kids really liked that one. Let's shoot the aliens. Can we shoot the aliens today? Yeah. Because kids are scared of being on their back, too. In the water. A lot of time. swimming in a direction that you can't see without being able to see the bottom of the pool. And not really having good guide markers to know how far you are from anything. I wonder if I could still do a backflip turn. Or a backstroke flip turn. I wonder if I still remember that timing. It's been so long. It's probably just like baked into my brain at this point with the tens of thousands of times I had to do those flip turns, but... having something to distract the kids from the scary part of being on your back, making it fun. They really liked that. But then I got in trouble. I had a whole class of kids that were just like clearly in a whole level below where they were. And like they all were easily gonna pass, or had already passed. I was already gonna pass all of them into the next level. And then I was like, okay, so do you want to get a little preview of what the level 3 course is gonna be like? And they were like, yeah, okay. And I was like, okay, we're gonna jump into the shallow end of the deep end of the pool. So you guys aren't gonna be able to touch the ground. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna have my arms out here so you guys can hold on to them. But just be ready, it's gonna be too deep for you to touch. We're just gonna get a little sneak preview of that right now. But it's gonna be okay. I'm here, I have my little booby. And there were only 3 kids in that class, so it was like fairly easy to do this. And I just had them jump in and then swim around a little bit, like practice holding onto the wall without being able to touch their feet on the floor, and trying to swim out to me a little bit one at a time. And I was like, yeah, these kids are ready for this class. They're ready. And I wasn't intruding on anyone else's space, because there were other lessons that were happening in that section of the pool, but they were all in like lanes. So this was an open area of the pool. It was lesson time. These kids were already passed, and it was on the last day. And I got in trouble for that, because they weren't supposed to go into the deep end. And not even like the deep end, like literally just... You know how like sometimes you'll have a 25-yard pool with a bulkhead at the end, and then past the bulkhead there's like a super shallow end for warm-ups and for like kids. I just took them out of the kids' end and put them into the shallow end of the 25 yards. I got in trouble for that. I was like, these kids are ready. Like, I've already written their report cards. They've already passed. They're strong swimmers. I was just giving them a preview. They're like, no, you can't do that. You're not supposed to go into the deep end until level 3. And I was like, yeah, they're going to be in level 3 next week, dude. And then I did. I had some of those kids again in level 3. It's like, man, trust me. I'm looking at my students right now, and I am confident in what they are capable of, and they were capable of it, so meh. Man, that brought up a lot of memories. I didn't think that was gonna go that far. I don't even remember how I started on that. But yeah, I was a swimmer for a long time. Did like swim team and competitive stuff, and was a lifeguard. Varsity all 4 years of high school. Technically held a school record for 1 week. It was on a relay, and then they broke it without me. Because I had pneumonia, and I could not swim. And then they swam at a faster pool. So even though the guy they replaced me with was like a second slower than me overall, they were faster. Then, you know, a couple years later, some random kid came and broke literally every one of our school records again. So it's like, okay.
And then it's high school, so it like literally doesn't matter, but it mattered at the time. It's fun to be able to say varsity all 4 years at like a real school. And I'm probably still... Like, even though I haven't swum in years and have broken both of my ankles since then, probably still would be fast enough to make varsity on a high school team. Like last time I went in and swam a couple years ago, I could still do like a sub 30, 50 free from the wall, so I don't think I could do a sub minute 100 from the wall, but somewhere around there. Not that sub 30 is fast. Sub 30 is not fast, but, you know, cutoff area for varsity on most teams is around there. It's like once you're getting into real swimming speeds. Real speeds more like 26, 25. But I was also not a sprinter. I swam the events that no one wanted to swim, so there would be less competition. 100 fly, 200 IM, 500 free. I think I did an 8 IM a couple times on club, and I did a 1600 long course one time. Which is the only event I've ever actually swum with an Olympian in the same pool. I swam a 1600 with Katie Ledecky. And she obliterated me. Obviously. Like, strongest female swimmer of all time, uncontested. Doing her main distance event against random high schooler. Like, yeah, of course. But it's just like... This was a very large meet. There were like thousands of people at this event. And it was a long course event. So it could only be at like 1 or 2 like real pools. And this was at a real pool. And then almost no one wants to swim that event because it's long and boring and hard, and most people don't want to be in the water for 30 minutes. And so I swam. There were only 3 people registered for the event. There was me, and I was swimming it technically as a punishment for missing practice. And then there was one other guy, and then there was Katie Ledecky. She won by a lot. And I can't remember if I beat the other guy or not. I was not swimming very fast. My coach said it looked like I was swimming in slow motion, because I kind of was. I really wanted to preserve my energy, because I was not sure if I was actually going to be able to finish the race, even as a relatively normal distance swimmer. I just never had swum a long course meet before. Long course being 50-meter pool instead of a 25-yard pool. So, Olympic size. That was my first long course meet. May have been my last long course meet. Can't remember if I did another one after that. Oh, it looks like that's 8. So let's count this down real quick. Then I can go take a nap, and then maybe cook, do a little cleaning, make some thumbnails for potential games that we're gonna play. And then I may actually still stream more tonight. I'm not sure. Not more shiny hunting, but more something real. Alright, that's 5. Oh, and I never counted 4. I never did my speed test to see how fast encounters are here with White Flute. But I may also just, like, decide to play more of a visual novel tonight. I want to finish this, Tsuru Tsuru? I forget what it's actually called. That's 2? What's the English title? It's, Japanese... Letters from a Rainy Day, Ocean and Lace. I think I'm about, like, a third of the way through, and I do want to finish that. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's kind of boring. Sometimes it has funny words. It's 1. But I do want to finish it, because it's supposed to be pretty short. Like 100,000 characters or something, 120. And last... And let's just do one more for good measure. -1. Never lucky. Let's see. What are we up to? 221. Means that somehow I have already played 13 hours since my last shiny. Maybe more than that, because I had one game crash and then I did it in bed a couple nights. And if we assume that's still about 300 encounters an hour, what is that? 13 times 300. We're looking at about 4,000. So yeah. Ballpark math, halfway to the rate for our next shiny. So, actually, like, making some pretty good headway into this hunt that I kind of decided to do on a whim. But I think that's going to be all for me tonight. Thanks for hanging out, guys. May play later, as I said, but also have some other stuff that I want to do. We'll definitely be doing a new game tomorrow, but still have not decided what that's going to be totally yet. But new real game tomorrow. Enjoyed the stream. Make sure you like and subscribe, and if you want to follow any of my real-life updates, I post those over on Blue Sky. Posted a I think, very nice picture of the moon and a mountain last night.